We are back, and I need to get this project finished up so I can reclaim my sculpting area so it's not the painting area now. But so anyway, I let him dry really well. I had a good friend remind me that probably what we did at Karen's was do a layer of black or some like really dark brown color first and then put the orange on top of it, because then that would have had this all be nice and dark. But as you can see, we can do it either way. You can put it on top. It's just I used too much water when I did it, and so that's why I had this bubbling up kind of effect that happened underneath my finger when I was holding it here. So, but honestly, on a pumpkin, it looks kind of cool. So I'm just going to keep on adding some more colors. I've just pretty much put the darker colors in by his nose and mouth and eyes, all that area. And then I painted this dark brown as well. You can see it's really looking kind of cool with the different color effects you can do just by doing different layers of them. So I'm going to keep on moving along with him, but I also wanted to show you something I've been working on too. This is our Winchester rifle that we sell at artdolls.com. It's made out of resin, and so we've got molds that we make these with. Then what we do is paint them. And so this one's just partway into the painting process with just a few layers of the acrylic paints on it. But I need to go through and get it kind of antique looking as well. But that's also something that we do and offer here. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with sculpting. I mean, anything that you can sculpt, you can then turn into resin and make copies of. So it's pretty fascinating. We've got several videos at makingfairies.com especially that are on mold making and resin. So if that's of interest to you, come on over, because it's been of interest to me too, and it's a lot of fun to do. All right, so let's get our colors going again. I think I'm gonna do a bit more of this kind of orange, which was pumpkin spice. That's what it's called. And I could not find my sea sponge, and so I made up my own. I had a little nice clean kitchen sponge, and then I just kind of clipped it in some funny ways, so it's a little bit more obscure looking, a little bit more abstract. So I'm just going to do a lot of tapping on my paper. Let's see if you can see that. So this is my little palette. It's just my freezer paper. I'm just doing some tapping of it there. Now if you want, you can add a little bit of water to this too. So it's a little bit of a lighter wash. I think I might do just a little bit of that. Just kind of gonna add just a little bit of water to my little pile of paint. And then back here, it just is looking a little bit neon orange to me. Boy, that first orange color was really quite bright. I was surprised how reddish, neon-y orange it ended up being. But I like this one quite a bit. But now that the paint is really dry, I can be a little bit more rugged and stuff with it. I was running into problems because my paint wasn't dry enough yet. So if you ever see parts starting to peel away from the resin and all that, that's typically what the problem is. Oops. I'll have to get some black in there. And you can fix that by just putting some nice thin layers of your paint on there too. Okay, I actually want to lift off a little bit of that, so I'm going to take a paper towel and just kind of dab it a little bit. It's getting a little bit wetter than I want, so I'm going to use this other side that's a little bit drier. But I just want that to be a little bit more of a wash effect. So the thing is, you can keep on going with as many layers as you want and just experiment with the different looks that come out from it. So just keep having fun with it, and pretty soon you'll have a pretty cool looking pumpkin. Same thing here. I'm going back over this with a dampened paper towel just to kind of lighten up that color I'm putting on there. Now I want to do a little bit of highlight. Kind of like that. Okay, and so I've also been putting some layers on his eyes, and that's been nice. I'll get his lips just a little bit too, because I want to have a lot of yellow in there, so it's really nice and thick and colored in fully. So I'm going to do that again as well. Oops. I want the yellow out too so I can do a little bit of dry brush highlighting. So I'm using a smaller brush. Just going in just carefully here. I plan on glossing up these eyes too because I think they're going to pop better with a little bit of a glossy look to them. And I'll give him some pupils. But let's get all this dried up first. Okay, that's going to be good for now. And now I also want to have, I've got this stippling brush. We'll see how it does as a dry brush. So I'm just kind of getting it tapped out. I'm just using this to just add a little bit of highlight. Okay. I want to go through. I got my sponge now a little bit wet. So I'm just going to go through with that. Just dab it and tap it. Alright, just experiment with your different layers. It's really fun to do. Let's see, I'm going to try a little bit more just regular dry brushing with a regular brush and see if it goes any better. It's still kind of streaky. I don't want his eyebrow yellow. I like it like that though, so if I can add a little bit like that and then just pull it off a bit, that seems to be the best effect. So I'm just going to keep on adding little bits here and there. I want this yellow in there now too. And I'm going to kind of tone it down with my sponge. There's our Mr. Pumpkin. I'll let him dry well and then we'll get his eyes finished up and he'll be done. Alright, so I'm going to take a little bit of black, especially where I got that orange in there. But I'm kind of just pushing it into these little cracks and detail work here. Kind of dab off the top. Alright, that part that was, I want that really darker. So we'll cover that, and the rest of this, just kind of work some black into it. And then pull it back out as needed. I'm just going to keep doing that a couple times until I have all the detail I want on there. Just going to keep doing that a few times until I have all the detail I want on there. I'm just using a very thin down black. And it's the golden acrylic, that's the fluid acrylics, and those are super, super potent. Alright, just getting those extra areas. And now that I've got the black handy, I'm also going to kind of just go in a little bit around these eyes. I need to trace around the lids too. So the places that the yellow kind of showed up won't be showing up again like that. And I want to put it around his nose right here too, just to really emphasize this area. And anywhere else you can just go right into the cracks and just give them the depth that you want and just kind of rub off the extra. So that's kind of a way to back shadow into it. Alright, I think he is pretty much done. I just have to get his eyes. I think what I want to do is kind of highlight these lips just a little bit. I want the black in there so all the lines get darkened. but I also want to highlight them too. Same with this. All right. Okay, now to the eyes. All right, here's how he's looking. And he's cute. I love him. Anyway, here's the bottom, and that just kind of reminds us of the color we started with there, huh? So that was interesting. And I want to tone it down. So I'm gonna get my little spongy guy and just kind of do that sort of thing on there. So what this did is kind of gave a little bit of a reddish orange, just kind of our back color that's kind of going through this whole project. I like it. I think it turned out pretty cool. Okay. I want to make it all just kind of blend together. Right there. I know, that was a little bit more than what I wanted, so I'll get my wet paper towel, just dab it back. All right, he's looking awesome. So now I'm going to get the black and use one of my fine paintbrushes right here. These cute little mermaid ones are awesome. Okay, so now I'm just going to work on getting a nice little pupil in there. Okay, we'll have to do some work to get that one straight. What I do is I just try to start filling in dots all around, and probably I could have just used like a stylus and did a drop that way. We'll get it. So then just do the straightening out that you need to. Now I need to get his other eye looking over here too. This is again that black golden fluid acrylic, and it's so pigmented. Very richly pigmented. So you need just a teeny tiny bit, and it goes a long way. Okay, I'm gonna hold it up closer to my face so I can get those really round now. But that's kind of the idea. Isn't he cute? All right, I had a spill on mine with a paint brush I was using, so I switched to my rubber tip tool like this. And so I've just been kind of filling in any place that needed to be rounded out more, just with tiny little dots like that. This is the eye I have to redo a little bit and add some yellow to kind of fill in that black area around the pupil that went a little bit wonky, but add a little bit of black right on these eyes too to line them a little bit if needed. Some of these places needed a little bit more, where I've got some of the yellow that's kind of got on the lids. So I'm fixing those little details, and as soon as I'm done, I'll show you the finished pumpkin. All right, here's how he's looking, and I need to go through and add a little bit more yellow around his eyes just because the pupil, I spilled a little bit of the paint. But I'll fix that. I'm going to do just a little bit of lining of a slight amount of red right here on his eyes, and then I'm going to gloss his eyes. And then he will be done, and I'll show him to you. I also will probably add a little bit of maybe one of the lighter colors, or I might do a lighter brown or something, just do a little bit of dry brushing on here. Get a little bit more contrast with these two colors. If you're new to these videos, you might have noticed my Maleficent head in the background here. She was super fun to sculpt, and I also made videos of when I did sculpt her. So if you're looking for fun videos like that, head over to makingfairies.com and you can find hers as well. I like that better. So I took some of that first orange that we had from Apple Barrel, and I just did a line of it right down here. And then I took this brush in some water and then just kind of brushed over it so it would just kind of fade in and lighten up a little bit. And then I did it just slightly on the top lid too. But I kind of like it because, like, if he was a pumpkin, you know, this is the part where you cut in and you see the bare pumpkin exposed. And then he's got these cute little eyes. Okay, but now the last thing I need to do is just add in a little bit more of the yellow so I can touch up the eyes a little bit. And then let them dry and give him some gloss. But I like that little bit of redness too. I think that made it real cute. Alright, there he is. He looks awesome. I love those eyes. Makes you wonder, what is he looking over at? He's like super interested in something. So since I had the little bit of that yellow out for his eyes, I just kind of took a little thin piece of it and did a little dry brushing right up here like this. And that really is just enough to just kind of highlight it and let us be able to see all that detail work a lot better. Maybe I'll do a little bit right here too, on those edges. Anyway, the last thing to do is to gloss those eyes. I'm also just doing a touch more dry brushing along these areas to just kind of emphasize some of the detail a little bit more. If I get too much paint on, I just will wet my finger and just kind of dab some water over it to soften it again. But so far it's working out pretty good. Just very slightly adds a little bit of color. I just take my paint, move it over to the wax paper, and make a really thin layer and just dab it a little bit. Get most of the paint off of it. And then just have these little slight bits that are left. But you know, it's really fun, just the richness that occurs, you know, by doing this many layers and working with all the different tones. I think it is a really amazing look. So big shout out to Karen Baker for teaching me how to make these, how to paint these awesome pumpkins, and she is such an amazing sculptor, so if you get a chance, check her out on Facebook. Alright, ta-da, he is done. Now he's a little bit wet still right now, but I actually put just a slight bit of shimmer on his face too, just because I feel like pumpkins they're a little bit shiny here. It looks like this one has a little bit too much shimmer right there. So I'm just going to lighten that back up. But anyway, just with some of the triple thick that was still on my brush from putting it in on his eyes, I just kind of did this kind of motion. And then just kind of rubbed it a little bit so there's just like a little bit of a sheen in some of the areas. Kind of like that, right? Anyway, that's how he turned out. I think he's looking awesome. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this, and find more sculpting videos and lots of fun tutorials and supplies at makingfairies.com and artdolls.com. Take care.